Well, here I am, 4:30 in the morning for a 5 o'clock start. I ripped the handle clean off the car the other day. Can you believe it? Look at that. That's what it's supposed to look like. Well, let's go in. Oh, there's a couple here. Go through the after hours entrance. Hope this fucking works. Yeah, oh well, see how I am. Hey there, slot car adventurers. Well, I made it through another early morning gym session, and now I've had a nice cold shower, a nice hot coffee. I'm ready to sit down and continue on with our build. This is part 2, the Dunlop Control Tower. Now, just as I did with the crosswalk or crossover sections, I'm bringing in that slaughterhouse chic high-end carpet effect. I'm doing all the floors in that, as well as the stair pieces as well. The floors and ceilings will all be plain old white, and maybe a few hints of silver here, maybe silver railings on the staircase, and perhaps the base of the little logo thingy that sits on top of the tower. We'll see. In order to really bring this kit to life, I'm going to do some extra detail on the inside. Lots of painting, and I'm going to be adding some specific graphics to the walls, like advertising posters. Now, here's a quick little tutorial coming up showing you exactly what I do to size my graphics correctly and how to print them in high def and fit perfectly every time. Now, I've gone looking on the internet for some images to use as Dunlop posters for the walls inside this tower. I think it would look really cool dressed up with their own advertising. So I found quite a few to choose from, and I'm going to show you what I do to get them sized correctly. There's a few steps. First, I go up to image. First port of call is going into image size, and see how this is set at 72 resolution pixels per inch? That's shit. That's for the internet. The internet, even in this day and age, is shit. When it comes to audio, images, video, they use these severe compression schemes to squish things down so the internet can cope with it. Everything you're looking at, everything you're viewing these days uses compression, data compression, file compression schemes, and it gets rid of the quality lessens. It throws out pixels, it throws out sound frequencies. You're living in this low-fi world, low-fidelity world, both sight and sound. And it's very important when you're actually editing images, you've got to bring them back to reality. And we do that here by first going 300 pixels per inch. That's like a minimum professional setting for working with images. So watch the difference when I hit the button. This is how much the internet is compressing your entire existence. Watch this. That's how it's supposed to look, right? So imagine all the songs you're listening to, the video you're watching. If you watch your videos off a Blu-ray, you get the full experience. It's incredible. You should try it out sometime. If you listen to your audio off CDs, you're getting the full sonic spectrum there. And if HD CDs are even better. Instead of all this compressed shit that's streaming, you don't know what you're missing out on. But anyway, this is more like it. First port of call. Now I'm going up to image again. This is my favorite drop down. And first of all, we're going to do some idiot-proof color correction. So I'm just going to hit auto tone. Watch it change. Okay, it did change. It got a little bit more bolder, contrasty. But speaking of contrast, we're now going to hit auto contrast. So again, it'll just watch it slightly change. You can see it on the camera. There you go, very slight change, but now that's looking like a professional image. Even though it's come from a squished down version, it's still looking pretty good. Now, I'm happy with that because by the time we print this out, it's going to be small. It'll be squashed down in size, which is what we're going to do now. By measuring the model itself, the wall sections, these are going to be next to the stairwells. It's got to be 7 centimeters tall. So I'm going down to image size again. Here's our window that comes up, and we've got our 300 PI, 300 pixels per inch setting. Great. We've got the quality happening. All you've got to do is go to this. You've got width and height. Now, with that little chain link, if I change this, this will automatically change to conform. If we don't have them linked, if I change just one of these, this is suddenly going to go super wide or super tall. So keep it linked so they're in proportion to one another. I'm just going to put in 7 centimeters in the height. Okay, and now when I hit OK, it'll now change. It'll conform to the exact sizing. When we take it upstairs and run it through the printer, it'll be exactly 7 centimeters. It'll fit perfectly into the model. Boom, there it is. Now, it kind of looks like we're back where we started, but it's much better quality. The tone, the color is much better, and now it's sized correctly. The only thing we need to do is save it. So I've got my little USB stick in here. We're going to save it as a TIFF, not a JPEG, because it started off as a JPEG. If you save it as a JPEG, you're compressing it all over again. So TIFF basically doesn't compress. It just saves it as it is. No data compression, no compromise, no bullshit, no stuffing around. It saves it as it is. And it's very compatible. I'll be able to open it, print it straight off the desktop. Too easy. So gonna put that in the flash drive, hit the save button. As you can see, I've already done this. I'm just going through it to show you. Hit replace. Yeah, I don't want any of that. Good. And I'm done. Now let's just check that it's there. Oh, there's the flash drive icon. There they are. I've got 3 of them. Let's bring them all up and have a look. Now what you'll notice, I haven't resized the windows. They've just opened as they are. And what do you know? 3 totally different images, perfectly sized, the same. All 7 centimeters tall. That's how easy it is to do. Easy when you know how. And again, this is Photoshop, whatever program you're using, you should be able to do roughly the same thing. Might be a few different steps to go about it. Software vendors are very inconsistent in the way they lay out their tools, but fundamentally it's the same process. They all look great. The colors look great. These are going to look fantastic on the wall inside the first tower. And I've got a few others to work on too. So let's take these upstairs and print them out, eh? Now, before we go up and do some printing, I've got a few others to do. I was getting a little bit excited there. So I've found the Dunlop logo. I've brought it in. I've creased it up to 300 resolution. My sizing is it's going to be 25 centimeters wide. But what I'm doing now, this is going to be a billboard either on top of or beneath the crosswalk, the crossover section. So I'm going to use this tool here, that one, and I'm going to just make this a long, thin billboard sign. Let's get the proportions right. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think that's about right. Double click in the middle and voonk. Just like that. That's pretty cool. Let's see what the height ended up being. So it's 3.35 centimeters high, 25 wide. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to save that one. I did fix the resolution. Yeah, I got it set at 300, as you can see there. So, okay, I'm going to save that as not a JPEG, a TIFF. Keep the quality. Again, to my little flash drive. Don't want any of that. Okay, we're making really good headway now. So I've got a couple more images, a couple more Dunlop advertising images that I'm going to potentially put elsewhere in this first tower. And yeah, this is just the first tower. I've also got the Hughes garage banner I've just created for my YouTube channel page up the top there. It's a new banner. So again, where is the resolution? Oh, it's all, well, as you can see, it's already at 300 because we know what we're bloody doing. 35 centimeters wide. That actually might be right. This is gonna, I think I'll have this one underneath, dangling underneath. So let me just, I'm using two hands here. Well, I'm trying to do it one-handed. There we go. That is the full banner. Let's resize that window so we can see. So I'm going to go in and measure underneath. That might hang down too far. The cars might smash into that. I'm not sure. It's a lot thicker. So I suppose it could go on top. We can have the Dunlop underneath. I'll have to make a decision about that. What will I end up doing, hey? We'll see. We'll save that. Maybe we'll save this one for the big reveal. Maybe it won't be there at all. But I think that would look pretty nice. The yellow Porsche looks great on this, and a couple of slotted cars. So my updated banner for the channel, I'm pretty happy with that. And this is about the third design I came up with. I tried some of the other cars, different angles, but this one just seemed to work. Yeah, all right, let's go up and print some stuff. Oh, just one more thing I've discovered. I am running low on photo quality print paper. So what I'm going to do, I've created an A4 page template here, and I've just copied and pasted all these TIFF files in. I'm gonna lay them out and just spread them over one page if I can get away with it. What do we do here? I'm going to go up to edit, transform, rotate clockwise. There you go. That one can sit next to that one. That's pretty good. I'm keeping them in from the edge because some printers don't print right to the edge. So that's my safety zone there. Next, will that one fit up there? Yeah, pretty much so. Next, we've got one of those. One of those. Can we fit one more down there? Yes, we can. So there's my page. Drag this over a little bit more, just rearrange them. These are all, once they're printed out, they go on the cutting board, and with the scalpel I'll close them out. But if I get these all in alignment, that'll be, drag it over, that'll be one nice neat cut down there, down there. That's all pretty good. So that was, oh, I want two of these. That's right. Okay, so once I've got this laid out, I'll save this as a TIFF, and that'll be one page to print with all my artwork. I could also lie these on their sides too. In fact, I like these so much, I wouldn't mind printing two lots of them and having them elsewhere. Maybe in the second tower. Who knows? All right, so this time, I promise you, we're going up to the printer. Here we go. Okay, here I am upstairs in the junk room, or my little home office, my little home schmozzle, hovel, whatever you want to call it, on my little Mac Mini. Folks, this is where I edit all the episodes. Like, some people, the comments they leave, oh, you must have a full production crew or something. No, it's just me and this GoPro 8 and this tiny little Mac Mini computer. This is what I use. This is where I sit. This is where I put everything together right here. I've got a view of the swimming pool. These doors open right up. Fresh air comes in. We've got the nice balcony out there. It's a good spot. Many a drink has been had at that little table there. Yeah, no, it's my own little slice of paradise. And as you can see, the weather's good, the pool isn't green anymore, that's a plus. Let's have a look at this. So, I've plugged my flash drive in, I've dragged the file up over onto the desktop, and I'm just going to click on it. This is how easy. It didn't work. Let's try it again. There we are, there's our TIFF. Ready for printing. I can just hit the print button and it'll print it out on the A4 page. Now, I'm using this Canon Photo Paper Plus Glossy 2. I like this paper. It seems to work well with my printer. But there's something I do before I do. Because of your screen resolution, like I've got this screen set to a nice neutral, you know, it should be quite accurate, but sometimes I've noticed when you print it out on the printer over here, it's all a bit dark and dirty. So a little trick I do is I go up to Tools. This is, I think it's in Preview, and what do I look for? Adjust Color. This little window comes up, and all I do is I go to Exposure, and I pull this up a fraction till about there. About there. Now, it may not be visible on camera, but it now looks like it is overexposed. It looks a bit too washed out, but trust me, by the time it prints, it's actually really, really good. Okay, and now Command P to print. Up comes my print window, and we don't want default setting. I've got the paper right, but I'm going to print on photo on glossy paper. And that's the right side. That's about it. Also, I'm going to print not 1, but 2, but 3 copies of this. So I'm going to use up 2 of these, and then I'm going to have 1 to spare in case I want to put some of these banners, especially the Hughes logo banner, elsewhere around the track. So let's hit print and see what we get. And there it is. Very glossy, very nice, looks fantastic. See what I mean? It prints out superbly. You may or may not have to resort to adjusting that exposure setting, but it works with my setup. I get great results. That looks fantastic. So 2 more of those and then we'll head on down and start trimming them to size, eh? And here we are. I've got my straight edges, I've got my sheet to cut out and my new knife. And look at that. They look fantastic. Now to choose where to put them and glue them into place. And here we are. I've tried to think like a corporate interior decorator or something, so I've got those series of posters on the same position on each floor. Now on the other wall, as you can see, I've placed that Dunlop Zone poster. Only on the bottom 2, because on the 3rd floor, there's a doorway. As for the 4th floor, there's going to be a lot of glass up here, so no posters for this floor. So let's have a little look-see, shall we? Nice. Very nice. Oh, and that's nice too. Nice consistency between the floors, eh? Now for my next task, I'm no longer the corporate interior decorator, I'm just laying some stair treads. Yeah, there's one, there's another one, and then there's one more. Well, that one's a bit off. Let's fix it. And fix it I did, as well as finish all the stairs. Look at them all. Yeah, that's a lot of stairs. And they've all got the slaughterhouse chic finish. That's a lot of dosh the company spent on these floors. Very posh. I suppose there'll be some wild corporate parties held after hours, eh? Better get the other wall on then. But before we do that, it's probably a good idea to install the little LED lights for each level. Just saying. Might be a bit hard to get at it later. I'm just gluing them into the corner where they won't be seen. I'll paint the wires white, and I'm going to paint up some figures while I'm at it. So as the glue dries and dries, I'm painting these numbskulls. Well, your head would be numb if you were upside down like that. I'm painting these guys as if they're wearing the company t-shirts, all in yellow, except the one who didn't get the memo. I'm also taking this opportunity to put in some planters made out of tyres, Dunlop tyres of course. I'm using a little Woodland Scenics lichen to glue in as some greenery. And there you go, company planters on every level. Wow! And don't they contrast nicely with that slaughterhouse chic carpet? Oh, this is just too fancy. And that's about all I'm going to add for the inside. I've glued in a couple of figures. That guy there looks like he's forgotten what he was doing. Am I going up? Am I going down? Was I going to eat? Was I going to go to the toilet? Oh, bugger, I can't remember. And with that, it's at last time to start putting on the decorative external panels. This is rather exciting because it feels like I'm actually getting somewhere. Also added this trim to the top edge as well as the handrail. And guess what? We've got more bloody painting to do. Oh gosh, it never ends. Windowsills, door frames, other bits, some in white, some in black, such as these trims and these frames for the upper section windows. But before we glue on that final side, good idea to paint the side of those stairs, because you won't get another chance to do them. Next, I'm cutting out and gluing on all the acetate or the fake glass, and needless to say, be careful when you do this, otherwise you'll get streaks. Look at that. Just like the crosswalk, that's looking fantastic. And do I see a streak? Oh gosh. Well, I guess it adds a touch of realism. Onto the sides, I've glued on all the window sills and extra little bits. And now with one hand, I'm trying to put them in place and not mess it up. Yes. Quite a skill. Now everything so far has been going together really well, which is a real testament to the guys at Magnetic Racing. These kits are fantastic, and as usual, I highly recommend them. And now to put on the final siding, and there it is. Doesn't it look nice? Oh, that poor bugger on the stairs is still trying to figure out what he was doing. Now let's add the pretty black trims. There's some nice etching on the sides which show you exactly where these go. And the finished result is something like this. Looking very swish, if I do say so. Let's just take a moment to admire the handiwork so far. Yeah, that is looking pretty remarkable, really. And now I can't wait to see how this top section turns out. So let's get cracking. I've got my pre-painted black frames, and with the assistance of the assembly tool included with the kit, it helps us get that angle just right. That way, when we add on the second piece, the corners line up. Well, close enough. The third piece is looking much better, so there. And before we add the fourth and final piece, it's time to add all the fake glass. I've carefully cut out all the shapes and sizes from the acetate sheets provided, and there should be enough to go around. Well, I hope there is. Yeah, there was. But I might have used a little too much super glue. Hopefully you won't be able to see it from the outside. But for the most part, I'm pretty darn happy with that. Looking fantastic. And just look at the intensity of these two Dunlop characters, eh? Watching the race go by. Now, believe it or not, there's yet another level above these guys to install. First, the roof on this section. Once again, I've pre-painted all the pieces required, 4 of which are easily transformed into this support post. It goes in the top just like that. The trickiest part is making sure it's nice and level, and I use the assembly tool to help get that right. Gotta love that assembly tool. Now, as you can see, I'm beginning to assemble this upper section. There's 4 of these pieces to go in, and with the help of that assembly tool, we got them nice and square. Nice fit. But you know, it was about this time I was wondering, is this kit ever going to be finished? There's so much to it. Oh my gosh. But we're so close. Let's press on. And if you've ever watched Star Trek, this guy with the red shirt is in a lot of trouble. Speaking of red, it's time to apply the Dunlop letters and create the little doodad on the top. Yet again, I've pre-painted all the various pieces, so here's the upper canopy at long last. There are no more levels above this one. Just that fancy Dunlop emblem, which I'm going to leave to the very last. It's now time to finally add all those Dunlop letters, both on the front and the back of the structure. Not too difficult to do, and boy, do they look nice. Really pops against that yellow. And at long last, it's the moment I thought we'd never get to. Final assembly and installation of the Dunlop emblem. Not too difficult to put together, and I even managed to paint that post silver as I mentioned earlier. So at long last, let's have a decent look at this thing. It has been quite a task, but you know what? Now that I get to sit back and admire the handiwork, I'm blown away. What a fantastic kit. It really does look amazing, and this thing is huge, quite a substantial piece. It could certainly function on its own, but remember, we've got to add that crosswalk, and next week we'll be building the second tower. Put the three together, and yeah, this corner is going to be extremely impressive. Not to mention, this functions as the second half of the Mad Max exhibit. Now, let's have a little sneak peek at what it looks like on the layout. The crosswalk will extend across the two sections of track and connect to the second tower, which will be somehow attached to the 8-header floodlight tower. And if that's not enough, we'll be dressing up the scene with all kinds of extra billboards, lighting, and who knows what else. But for now, that's part 2 of our build project complete. Well, folks, we did it. There is our Dunlop Control Tower, the main tower, done and dusted. Quite a task, lots of parts, lots of colours and lots of pre-painting and planning, but have patience with it and it'll turn out fantastic. I'm very pleased with the look. I pretty much followed the colour scheme that Magnetic Racing has displayed on their website. I did a few little things different. Obviously the slaughterhouse sheet carpet is a different take, but having the little figures and the little planters and that, it really brings it to life. And obviously last week we did the crosswalk. So if we have a look on the side, that simply slots in there as such. I won't push it all the way, but as you can see, it's going to be quite a substantial model by the time it's finished. Come out. So very, very pleased. I ran out of LED lights. I'm going to have to get some more. So I've got the 3 levels installed. I don't have one for here or up here. But now I'm thinking opposite that big light tower, it may not even need any internal lighting, but we'll have a look at that at another time. But overall, very, very pleased with how it's turned out. I've already got a head start on next week's on the smaller tower, bit of pre-painting going on there. And I've just had a thought, and yeah, I might need to do something different with this wall. Maybe this needs to be all black, we'll see, because this is what's going to be facing that Mad Max display, and the two are connected. It's the Dunlop guys, you see, who brought in the Mad Max display. Well, that's the concept anyway. So this week, what I've been listening to whilst building this tower is the classic German heavy metal hard rock band, the Scorpions. Now, surely you've heard of the Scorpions. They're legendary. This album was huge for them in the early 80s, Blackout, followed by Love at First Sting. This is their classic album. Everyone knows the song Rock You Like a Hurricane. Well, that's not the only great song on this album. Beginning to end, perfection. They followed it up with Savage Amusement. I've got a few others. There's the Crazy World with what I call the whistle song. You know the one I mean. But some of the later albums, this one, Humanity Part 2. This is somewhat of a concept album. What a fantastic CD this is. Great one. Another recent release, Sting and the Tail. Everybody thought this would be their final album. It is a blockbuster, another great Scorpions album. Took me a few listens to get into it, but now I think it's one of their best. But then they followed it up with this one, Return to Forever. So this is even better. Love this album. Great release. One thing I never got, but finally got around to getting, was Worldwide Live. Now this is one of the best live albums you can get. A fantastic release. So pleased to get it. In fact, I even jumped on board and got the re-release vinyl. And this is fantastic. It's even got, it includes all sorts of artwork, posters, a CD, all sorts of goodies in there. Great package, classic album. And that's what I'm listening to this week. Now, Slot Car Adventurers, I've got a special side project to show you for this season. Remember last season I put together that awesome Flying V electric guitar? Now, that turned out to be something magical. Well, I've got something similar. Let me grab the camera and come for a walk and I'll show you what we're doing. Yes, let's go into my little audio room here. Now, I almost didn't get an episode to you last week because just as I sat down to do the narration, my studio kind of crapped itself, and as you can see, I've been, starting to pull things apart. I've moved the desk out so I can get at things. What happened exactly is that my main module, this universal audio one, has got a serious problem. I've had several expensive microphones seemingly die over the last couple of months, and turns out it was this thing all along. So it's been disconnected. Last week I went through my Avalon and it turned out great using this. Well, this is basically a fake Neumann U87 mic, one called a C1 by Studio Projects, I believe the company is called. Basically they took the classic Neumann U87 design and got some cheap Chinese place to make them, and these are sort of an industry best kept secret. The guts are more or less identical to the U87. The sound is more or less identical to the U87. You heard it last week. I think I sounded more lively than ever, and these cost a fraction of the price, and I got a couple of these. But anyway, yeah, the Avalon did a great job. I used the EQ built in. I enjoyed it so much, I've made this my main tracking box now. This guy isn't even plugged in, as I said. It might have to go away for repair. There's something to do with the powering of condenser mics, something weird going on. But anyway, what I've decided to do is, there's not much room in here. I've decided to do, as a side project this season, do a bit of a remodel, which basically starts with totally redesigning and rebuilding this console. I'm going to get rid of the rack gear completely. I'm going to keep this section, this main desk part and the mixer modules. That's all good. But I'm going to condense this down a little bit. I'm going to have all the monitors 1, 2, 3 side by side, right front and center. No rack gear. I'll have that in a different rack on the side, or we'll build a new rack. In fact, the idea I'm thinking is to build a rear rack with a tabletop on top. There's a lack of bench space in here, so maybe that's the way to go about it. I don't need seating in here other than one seat for me. I don't operate as a business these days, so I don't have people visiting. So yeah, I don't need this seating. We can utilize the space for the outboard rack. I think, like I built this thinking it'll be a great idea to have it in front of you, all at your fingertips. Well, turned out it's not so great because everything gets in the way of everything else, which is a continual dilemma with the modern studio with all these computer monitors and the like. But I'm going to condense this. I might keep these ends, but I'll reshape them. I'll make them not quite as deep so it doesn't take up as much space, so there's more room in the room. But I'll definitely have this monitor bridge. I've got several sets of studio monitors. These are my cheap ones. I'll have to bring down the biggies. I've got about 3 sets, so I'd like to get a special load box and be able to switch between them. My main unit that I used to do that, it busted. And frankly, these things just aren't worth fixing these days because they're all bloody junk. Seems to be the case with everything. They break, you take them back. How much is this going to cost? And it's a ridiculous figure that you realise, well, I might as well just buy a new one. Yeah, a throwaway society. So anyway, as a special side project in the weeks coming up, and again, like the guitar, we're not going to dwell on it. It's not going to be all about this. This is relevant because it's connected to the slot car room. I do my sound production in here, so it is relevant. But I thought you guys might want to see me redesign this, reconfigure this. It should be interesting. I'll show little updates from time to time what I'm doing. That's about it. But that'll be the special side project for this season. So what do you reckon? I'll tell you what I reckon. Definitely got my work cut out for me. Talk about taking on too much. Gosh, but yeah, it needs to be done. There's gear in there I just don't use anymore, so I'll either pack it away or sell it or throw it, I don't know, depending on what state it's in. But we'll make some space, and I think I'll bring the video setup down and have it all contained in that one room. I think I've mentioned that before. I haven't bothered doing it. Let's do it. Let's get it all in there, in that one space, and make life a whole lot easier. Okay, Slot Car Adventures, another great episode, another successful build project. That's part 2 complete. So we'll see you next week for part 3 of the build and the big reveal, I hope. And whatever else I can think of. Excuse me now, I'm going to throw on the Scorpions again and crank it up. We'll see you next week on Hughes Garage Slot Car Adventures.